This hardly feels like a political battleground. The only rhetoric at the South Florida beach is the sound of wind and a few muffled words from surfers as they paddle and position themselves to catch the next wave. But in the land of sunshine and palm trees, there's a final big push underway to mobilize people in key voting blocks, and Muslim Americans are increasingly becoming attractive, if not influential.
The union knows that this is a community that we need to reach out to educate, empower them to get more politically relevant in the process.
And one of the people helping to do that is Nazda Alam, a longtime political organizer in her home state of Massachusetts. She's been down in Florida for weeks, volunteering with union members and other groups to get Muslim Americans to register and vote in the upcoming presidential election.
In 2008 and 2012, we also, I personally were very involved with the Muslim voter registration and Muslim reach out. And that time, my focus was civic engagement. And we asked the Muslims that if you live in this country, you are the part of this land, part of the fabric of that you do your civic duty. But this year is also an issue with our existence, our safety, and our religious identity.
That message is being heard in religious institutions like this mosque in Boca Raton. For Muslims, especially recent immigrants, sitting on the sidelines is no longer acceptable.
They have in their backgrounds in the mind that I need to get established before I can help anyone else. And when they receive any oppositions or any discriminations, we were all under the idea of it's okay, keep silent about it, don't raise an issue because you need to keep moving. But it has reached a point where Islamophobia itself, the damage that they are causing to the Muslim communities is way beyond silence.
There are an estimated 170,000 Muslim Americans in Florida. According to the Pew Research Center, the population is about 3.5 million in the U.S. This time around, they lean Democrat, but it wasn't always that way.
This is the biggest and quickest shift in voting behavior that I can think of in American political history.
Robert Watson is a professor of American Studies at Lynn University in Boca Raton and the author of about 40 books on politics and government. He points to the year 2000. Republican George W. Bush's faith and values message got him more than 70% of the Muslim vote in Florida, where he narrowly won the presidency. 8 years later, those numbers flipped in favor of President Obama, the Democrat.
There's basically two touchstone events that are changing the landscape of Muslim American political behavior. The first one was George W. Bush's response to 9/11. The second big event would be Donald Trump's candidacy.
As volunteers went door to door and worked the phones to encourage Muslims to register and vote, conversations kept coming back to Islamophobia.
Right now, given the current climate and the political rhetoric, we're targeted, so we're being attacked.
A recent poll by the Council on American-Islamic Relations found that 85% of those who responded believe Islamophobia and an anti-Muslim sentiment increased in the past year. At times, this issue has been front and center in the presidential campaign, with Hillary Clinton, according to polls, getting the majority of support among this fast-growing constituency. Both of the candidates have been spending a lot of time here in Florida, and Hillary Clinton, who was just at a rally here, has been focusing specifically on Muslim Americans. In fact, she has a point person that's doing outreach to the community. Now, while Muslim Americans still care a lot about faith and values, the younger generation, the millennials, are also putting a lot of weight on the economy. And who will help keep them safe?
I think the youth is trying to create their own narrative. Really.
Thank you.
That's what that is. Yeah. The youth wants what you see on television and what is commonly portrayed for American Muslims across the country is not the real face and voice of American Muslims.
Emerge, a national organization working to educate and engage more Muslims in the political process, is taking advantage of that.
We want to definitely pinpoint where these strong leaders are in the community and then give them all the support that they need to be able to represent our community.
Before you are left with the impression that this entire voting bloc has abandoned its right-leaning roots, meet Saba Ahmed, a lawyer, founder of the Republican Muslim Coalition, and Trump supporter.
Muslims believe in conservative values. We're very much pro-life, pro-traditional family values, traditional marriage, pro-business, less taxes, pro-trade. A lot of things that our community generally cares about align with the Republican Party.
And what about the rhetoric in this campaign? Like the Muslim ban, a position Trump held, then backed away from.
I tend to ignore it, and then Donald Trump himself toned down on his anti-Muslim rhetoric quite a bit. I tend to see it as an opportunity for Muslims to engage with the Republican Party and to educate them about Islam and Muslims. There's hardly any Muslims within the Republican Party to counter the narrative, and that's what we're trying to do.
Ahmed says her political views aren't always welcomed in certain mosques, and that it's challenging trying to defend some of the comments from politicians in her party. But she's working within, not walking away.
Presidential candidates ought to be reaching out to all communities and, regardless of our faith, reach out to voters in swing states, and especially to Muslim Americans, because we feel so vulnerable and isolated.
Very good. You're doing your civic duties.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Alam, who continues working the phones and knocking on doors, thinks the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton, not Trump, are the better option. But they all agree on this.
I wanted to see peace and harmony with all community together. Everybody's voice is important. We need to make a peaceful world, not killing, but loving.
For Religion and Ethics News Weekly, I'm Dan Lothian in Boynton Beach, Florida.